Walnut and the Coach, season 1, episode 4. Here we are.
Yeah, I'm so happy I'm here. I just never was sure on who's Walnut and who's Coach.
I think this episode, I will be Walnut and you will be the Coach. How about that? Just for consistency's sake.
Yeah, some people call me nuts.
I think it's a term of endearment, Jim. So, that's the best I can tell you. We want to welcome everyone here today. I'm Paul Behrman. I'm here with my dear friend and mentor and colleague, Jim Stroker, Coach Jim Stroker. We think about these conversations. We call them Walnut and the Coach. And we think about our mission as a mission to help, give hope, and inspire. And Jim and I have talked about that a number of times. Jim, I love our mission. I love our conversations. And just before we push that record button, we were into some very interesting conversation about mindset and some stories and analogies that we were sharing. I want to turn it right over to you, my friend, and have you run with it.
Well, thank you, Paul. I'm honored to be here with you. And like sometimes in your life, you find, we've talked about this before, like really wise people. I always call them soulmates, that are here to offer you the right thing at the right time, and they show up. So like, who are the soulmates in your life to the audience, that people that showed up for no apparent reason, and for some reason you feel like they're richening your life? Think about those people. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? So.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All things for a reason. That's for sure. And you certainly being one of those soulmates, brother. I really appreciate you.
Well, the older I get, the more I realize that life is all about one thing. What do you think it is?
I think it's about caring and compassion. That's where I always come back to love. That's always my where I arrive.
And maybe next week I'll change, but right now my answer to that is, life's all about stories.
Yes.
And you and I and everyone that might be watching this, we're all great storytellers, aren't we?
Yes.
We tell stories every day. Like I tell them for a living. I just got back from telling stories in Las Vegas and in Nashville and when I start to tell stories, people perk up, because there's something about stories that kind of embrace everyone. And maybe it seems like you're a little kid again, and you're going to bed and someone's there. But if you have a good story, it really captures you. And the punchline here is that we're storytellers, and the most important story that we tell is what?
Story of ourselves and how we relate to the world.
Yeah. And that's mindset.
Yes.
Like we are perceiving things and then bringing a storyline in here. We are perceiving ourselves and what we're capable of and who we are. We're making appraisals and judgments of who we are all the time. Then we're appraising the situation that we might be in. And then we're appraising the people that surround us and what we think of them. And this mindset is something that is, it's moldable, it's changeable, and something can happen that can change that. So I just love this story, Paul. It's my new favorite one. And I offer it as a gift. So it's a story about a Texas billionaire. And this billionaire is aging, and he owns over 220 acres of land out in West Texas. And Paul, he's got 12 big oil wells on this amazing property, and has this giant abundance of livestock and cattle. And he also, Paul, braids racehorses. So he's got like this big, racetrack and racehorses. Like, this guy is loaded. He's a billionaire and happens to have the biggest mansion, out in West Texas. And by the way, owns a double Olympic-sized swimming pool. So, he's aging and he has everything that anyone could ever want in their life, except a daughter or son.
Mm.
He never had a son or daughter that he could leave these riches to. So he's aging, and he and his wife realize they want to find someone, a deserving person that would then inherit, this property and put them into their will. And he wants to find the right person. So he gathers together his 12 finest assistants, and they go out and screen Texas for 100 potentially deserving people. And they get the names, they do all the background check, and they bring them in for this giant event, this giant gathering where they're all going to come together. And little do they know it, they're going to have to go through an event that's going to make one person the winner and the winner of these billions. So they all come, men, women, she's, he's, and they's. They all come in one late afternoon, and they meet the billionaire and his wife. He serves them this incredible dinner. And then all of a sudden he whistles. And he goes like this. He says, come on around to the swimming pool. And when they walk around the double Olympic sized swimming pool, they see a big tarp on top of the pool. And they walk over there, they're confused. And he walks them down to the end of the pool, and he walks to the other end. And all of a sudden he takes his little clicker, pushes the button, and the tarp rolls off. When it rolls off, Paul, there are 6 giant sharks swimming through that pool. There's alligators and water moccasins all in that pool. And everyone's like this, they can't believe it. And he said, well, this is it. He said, the first person that can successfully swim from that end of the pool to this end of the pool will receive and be the heir of my riches. And as soon as he says riches, some woman jumps in the pool and she starts swimming. And suddenly these sharks come. She takes her forearm, smacks the shark. Right then the shark goes back. She's swimming. The alligators come. She grabs their tail, flips the tail, the alligator's tail. Here comes the water moccasins. But she's swimming like Mark Spitz. And you wouldn't believe it, Paul. She gets this amazing, like sharks and alligators. She swims, and Paul, she makes it all the way down the end of the pool. Her ear is bleeding. She jumps up the side of the pool. And the billionaire is like this. He says, you did it. You did it. And everyone's clapping. And the billionaire says, what do you want first? Do you want the oil wells? And she says, no, sir. And he says, well, do you want the racehorses? She says, no, sir. He says, well, do you want the mansion? She says, no, sir. He says, well, for heaven's sake, what do you want? And she says, Paul, I want the name of the dude that pushed me into the pool. So, Paul, the question is, why?
Wow. That's fascinating, Coach. I have not heard that. I don't know if that's one of yours or
well, but let me finish it. I asked you a question.
Yeah.
Why does she want the name of the dude that pushed her into the pool?
My guess, Coach, would be she wants to thank that person. Even though I don't know that anyone is going to voluntarily jump into this pool full of alligators and sharks and water moccasins and such, but somebody gave her that push when she may have needed a push to pursue something that she wanted to pursue. Right. So, even though there was a lot of, fear there, that push, was what she needed to conquer the challenge.
So if we were in our leadership conference, or our listeners would say, gather together with 2 other people, find 2 others, stand up and tell those people about the person in your life that pushed you into that pool. Now, Paul, the person that pushed me into the pool, right there.
Yeah.
Like I got pushed into this pool. The universe, God, whatever you believe, felt like I could handle those alligators. I would have never jumped into the pool. I would have never thought I could handle the pool. But when you're in there, it's amazing what you can do. So as a leader, Paul, our job, is to help people go into those pools and help them, and allow them to know there's more in them than they think they have. So
yeah,
story about mindset.
I love it. I love it, Coach. That's amazing. And it's interesting because I think about that story that you just shared, and I think it's not often sort of a life and death scenario, thankfully, right? But oftentimes those obstacles, those things that get in our way, that create that fear, that hesitation, they're not that high. They're not the high stakes, right? In terms of risking our lives and these kinds of things. And you're absolutely right. It is about mindset, and and I think we should appreciate when people give us, sometimes I call it encouragement, and I think about, I think I may have shared this with you before. I think about, the root of that, of course, being courage, and this notion that, in that scenario, for example, it takes some courage to undertake that kind of a task. And when someone gives us that push, again, maybe not in a life-threatening situation, but when someone gives us that push, they're actually helping to instill some courage, right? They're encouraging us, right, to pursue things that can be intimidating at first. So I think it's wonderful.
So sometimes the toughest teachers we ever had that gave us material that was over our heads.
Yes.
And say thank you. Sometimes the toughest relationships we've ever been in, you look back and say, well, sorry, that was Alan. Sometimes the toughest things, we look back and those are the people. And again, as leaders, it's our job to try to, help those people just realize they can do more than they think they can. So what is mindset?
Oh gosh, that is such a fascinating question, Jim. I mean, I think about this a lot. I think mindset, I guess first I would say, we could of course, reference Carol Dweck, right? And minds, the book about mindset, fixed mindset, growth mindset, these kinds of concepts. At the same time, when I think about it sort of generically, I think mindset first and foremost is not an accident. Like I think, I guess it could be an accident, but I think in order to bring the mindset that we want to bring, to certain endeavors and to our lives requires some intentionality. And I think it's to some extent recognizing sort of where is my mindset right now, and why is it, as it is right now? Is it what I want it to be right now? So for me, there's almost a taking stock, of what is my current mindset? Is it a positive mindset? Is it a negative mindset? How am I thinking about a particular situation? Am I thinking about it in a defeatist, in a negative kind of a way, in a defeatist kind of a way? Am I thinking about it in an empowered kind of a way? Am I bringing to it different perspectives that may help me, to approach it better? So yeah, it's a fascinating question. I don't have a great answer for it. I kind of nibble around the edges of that kind of question because I wonder about it too. What's your thought? Like when you think about mindset, how do you think about it?
I think the generic definition, would be mindset is your perception. Again, the lens, the filter that you're looking at something. It's what you see, right? It's how you interpret not only the situation you're in, yourself, but the people around you. And that filtering system comes from a lifetime of experiences you've had. Again,
Right.
you walk up to the ocean and you back off because there are waves. I've been in there before, the waves tumbled me. That's dangerous. I'm a surfer, I'm a body surfer. I see the waves and say, oh, good, big waves. So, I see people that look unusual or different. I've had people express to me that that's dangerous. I've maybe been in an experience where I may have been hurt, as opposed to that's where I found my greatest wisdom and insights through diversity and interest. So I think your past plays into it, but then you just said it, Paul, to become aware of that mindset. And then is that mindset serving you or is it making you a better person or giving you energy, or is it stifling you in a fixed mindset per se?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it comes from a lot of things, right?
Beautiful. I love it, Coach. And you used some interesting words there too that I jotted down. Mindset being similar to the lens or the filter that we're bringing to our lives and to our experiences and our situations. And one of the things, that I think about is, the extent to which we have the power to choose the lens, right? Or to choose the filter, right? This idea, and I like your analogy of the waves, because many of us have had those kinds of experiences, especially, maybe as a kid, where you got knocked down, you got pummeled by the waves, maybe even as an adult, you got pummeled by the waves, gives you, and that becomes maybe the lens that you're bringing, so like you said, you're approaching the ocean, you see the waves, the lens you're bringing is based on those prior experiences. And so you've got some anxiousness, right? And to what extent might we have the power to say, oh, if I really step back and look at the lens that I'm using for this situation, the lens I'm bringing to this, is based on this prior experience, but maybe this prior experience isn't the only way to bring a lens or to bring a perspective, and maybe in that situation, and you use the other analogy of, maybe if we have other experiences, as a surfer, we become more comfortable. And so there's this other lens of, oh, wow, actually, these waves are not completely intimidating, but I see opportunity there and some potential enjoyment. And maybe we can dial it in a little bit with each of those lenses and say, my prior experiences when I got pummeled by the waves, the takeaway from that should be respect for the ocean, right? Not paralysis and fear like I can't go in, but maybe the takeaway, instead of being so intimidated that I can't enjoy it, maybe the takeaway can be, hey, this is powerful. This is perhaps the most powerful force of nature, or one of the most powerful forces of nature. I need to bring a respect. And even if I'm a surfer, and even if I'm a skilled swimmer and surfer, I still need to bring respect, for the ocean. So how can we choose those lenses, right? How can we adjust those lenses, I wonder?
Yeah. It's well, I certainly think what you suggested earlier, the basis of emotional intelligence is awareness, right?
Yeah.
Just become aware of, I woke up this morning, I'm nervous again. I'm afraid of getting into something I'm going to, I know I have to do today. Just to be able to stop for a moment, and then as an adult now, try to detangle and ask yourself, why, and do I have things out of filter or perspective on the risk reward, that tension is so good. But as we've mentioned in the past here, our brains are wired. I don't want to get into this too much. We've talked about it. They're wired to protect us, right?
Yes.
And they're built to scan the world and see what's dangerous. So I think it's interesting mindset. So I want to get into your old house. So do you want to tell the story?
I'd be happy to, Jim. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. So, I had mentioned to you just before we pushed record that I've been thinking a lot about this analogy for life, and the analogy that I'm sort of arriving at, or one of the analogies, I call it this old house. Not to be confused with the home renovation TV program, right? But this idea that I call this old house, which, the story, that I just kind of made up goes like this. I'm going on a hike in the countryside. I arrive at this big, beautiful old house. And inside the house are all different people, dozens of people, really big house, dozens of people from all walks of life, from all over the world, and all different ages, all different generations, every conceivable, kind of human beings in this house. And the way this works is I arrive at the house and I'm going to stay at the house, and I'm only there for 24 hours, and then it's time to leave. And the same is true for everyone else in this house. We all, when we arrive at this house, we're here for 24 hours. At the end of 24 hours, it's time to go. There are new people arriving, at this house every day, right? And so the question becomes, for the 24 hours that I'm here at this house, how do I want to use my time, my precious time? And the way I think about it is, well, I want to care for the people in the house who are here with me in the house, for the day that I'm here. Heal, uplift, nurture, spread a little love, spread a little joy. Maybe I can do some things to improve the house itself. Maybe one of the rooms needs painting and I can pitch in that way, or maybe I can go out and weed the garden, or do a little maintenance on the outside of the house. Right. And then the next day, the next morning, it's time for me to leave. Right. And so I think of this, as an analogy for life. We're here, we come into this life, even if we're here for 90 or 100 years, it's a brief time. It's a short amount of time, if we're fortunate to have that long on this planet. And regardless of the length of time that we're here, how do we want to use, this precious gift of time that we're given? And so I think about, if we can help uplift, the people who are here with us, if we can help care for this beautiful planet and this beautiful world, that we're here to take care of, in the brief time that we're here, then for me, that's the way I want to use the time. And I'm hoping it resonates with folks, and folks may think about it likewise. What do you think?
I think it's genius. I think it's incredible. Like I love it. It's one of the best stories I've ever heard. I'm 70 years old. It's in the top 5. I love it.
That is so sweet. Thank you.
No, and you made it up.
Yeah. And well, thank you. That means a lot to me. And it's I think about it, and you and I have talked about this before. It's it's this balance to me. It's life is this balance of self-care and care for others and for our world. This for me, the yin and the yang of self-care, and part of the function of self-care is so that we can optimize our ability, right, to care for others, care for this world. And for me, my hope and my wish and my prayer is that, in the brief time that we're here, we also, and it's interesting because it does come back to mindset to some extent, we can bring this mindset of who am I and what is my function? And if we all have this mindset of, hey, we're all really caretakers, we're all really helpers. right? That's part of who we are, as a humanity, is to care for each other and to care for this beautiful house, that we've been blessed to have for this brief amount of time. Maybe that mindset informs how we operate in this world. So that's the way I'm thinking about it.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think it's that's the power of stories, isn't it? Like that. I don't know why. Why is it that a story can put puzzle pieces together better than a lecture or sometimes even a reading? I don't know what it is. Well, I guess you can read, but just they're very powerful. I think that's great. Yeah. I mean, one of the just been doing a lot of leadership work with schools, and the number one quality that we worked on last week is caring for others.
Yeah.
And the one thing about caring for others, Paul, there's no easy fix here, right? Like you can't, maybe we've talked about this, so I don't want to revisit it, but there's no shortcut to feeling trust or like you really are cared for someone.
Yes.
Right? It's a mixture of not only quality, but quantity or frequency. Like again, stop me if we said it. It's like brushing your teeth, right? Like if you go to the dentist once every month and get a full, beautiful checkup, that's going to make your teeth fairly healthy. But unless you brush every single day, like every day, your teeth, these big time events, aren't going to supersede the day in, day out nurturing or caring that you do for others.
That's exactly right. I agree, Coach. And I think, and I love that a lot of this conversation today is about mindset, and the mindset that we bring, because I think, a lot of, like you were saying, whether it's, relationships, and let me run with that theme for a minute, because, recently, as I've been thinking about, oftentimes I think in conversations, about our sort of our mission in this world, or about leadership, right? We come back to this notion of trust, right? And this idea, which I absolutely agree with, as one of the major goals, of relationship building, is to arrive at that place of trust, right? Where we feel like a comfort in each other. And that trust, I think, to some extent, goes back to, I have a deep sense that you care for me and my well-being, and you have a deep sense that I care for you and your well-being. And so that helps to cultivate, this, the relationship to begin with, and then the fruit of that relationship, which is trust, right? And when I think about it, when I trace it backwards, I think this is the way I trace it backwards. I think, absolutely, trust is this gold standard, this aspirational goal. And then we trace that back as a function of our relationships. And then I think about the relationship as a function, and you were just mentioning this a moment ago, about the frequency and quality of our interactions, right? When we have this continued positive interaction, that feels uplifting, it feels supportive, it feels mutually encouraging, builds that relationship, builds that trust. And beneath the, if you back it up to that one, maybe even final step, before we even get to the interactions and the communication, the sort of the place it all begins is mindset, right? The place it all begins is mindset, is this mindset of like, the coach is bringing a mindset of caring for other people, uplifting, nurturing, healing people. Like that's the mindset that you bring. And so that informs all of the interactions right, that you have, and those interactions lead to the relationships, lead to the trust. So I love that we began this conversation with mindset, because I think it is such a powerful component and so foundational, to a lot of the stuff that we talk about.
Yeah, I agree. And, where I'd like to go next time, which is fun, is communication,
Yes.
and there's so much to that. And, that feeling of caring, that little difference between like, hey, Paul, how you feeling? To Paula, how are you feeling today?
Exactly.
Like giving you permission to know that I really care, not just, hey, Paul, how you feeling?
Right.
You're good, Jim, good. Well, let's get on with the game here, as opposed to, Paul, tell me how you're feeling today.
I love it.
Just that little difference means I'm willing to give you my time.
Yes.
And I really care.
Yes.
So, and different from a text message that says, Paul, comma, tell me how you're feeling. It's just there's so much in so many little, subtle parts to caring, aren't there?
Oh my gosh, it's so true. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you talk about communication and especially this gift of our time and our attention. And this is, you're right, this is the stuff of a whole nother conversation, but you're absolutely right. When we really are present for each other, present for people, right? When we're really giving people the fullness of our attention. And I love the description you gave to that, right? It's not the, hey, Paul, how you feeling? Like, like almost like a, like obligatory, like a robotic, exchange versus a real heartfelt, like, hey, how you doing today? What's going good? What's, what challenges you dealing with right now? Like something that's like the real gift of attention, and our time. It really is an extraordinary thing. I agree. I think we're going to have to spend some time unpacking that one, Coach.
Can't wait.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Paul, so much. You want to end it up? So what's the one word? Because I'm liking using this quite a bit. The one word that would describe the best how you feel. Oh
gosh. It's interesting. I think my feeling, my feeling and general sort of state of mind is fluid, but I'm going to answer that. I'm going to come at it a particular way, and I know we talk a lot about compassion, and we talk a lot about, love. I'm really striving for that as trying to keep that as continuous a mindset and a feeling in my mind and heart as I can. It's work, right? It's work because, different circumstances, different challenges, different situations, but how can I be more conscious, right, of keeping continuity and keeping that mindset of love and compassion? So that's where I'm trying to be. How about you? Yeah.
And I don't mean this to be ostentatious or showy, but the word dynamic to me is kind of like it's moving, like
yes,
things are happening. Not like, obviously this is not dynamic, but I'm feeling like I'm moving in directions and growing, and that feeling of growth to me is the greatest feeling for self-care.
Yes.
For me, that's the one. Calm, content, peaceful comes out of feeling like I'm actualizing. That's what I like.
Oh, beautiful. Love it, Coach. What a great place to land it for today. Thank you, brother. Thank you, my friend.
Coach. You're the
All
best.
Right. You as well, sir. You as well. Namaste.
Namaste.